I'm gonna survive, I think, because there's only 2 of these. So welcome back. We have Little Wolf. For those who are curious, you probably saw the thumbnail, but no, Gigi's Little Wolf is not on this list. If for no other reason than I was extremely adamant that I'm not doing more than 2 Little Wolves. I just... I can't.
Sorry.
I just can't do it. I can't suffer that way. I can't listen to this song 3 times. And here's the thing, initially there were really only supposed to be 2 legendaries, as I said before, but I let them put in Gigi's as a 3rd. And when I was editing it back, I actually felt kind of bad because, look, we know that I don't like this saga. I actively despise it, actually. And I felt bad in that if I were more enthused, maybe I would have said even more stuff about Gigi's animatic, which was absolutely, I mean, beautiful. Look, Gigi's art is gorgeous. I think that's just sort of an established point. But like, I can't rev myself to be like super into it when I'll be like, yeah, that's really cool. This adaptation still sucks. So I just couldn't be as into it. And by the time I was hitting Gigi on like a 3rd round, like literally I do all these reactions, like when I film reactions for a song like this, I do them all back to back. By the time I was hitting Gigi, I was like, I'm burnt out. Like, I have to do this a 3rd time and let's do it. Like, I don't have the same energy to put forth to it. And I was like, you can't put a 3rd Little Wolf in there. It's not gonna end well, and I'm gonna feel bad because, again, I don't have anything against these artists. Their art is always wonderful, really. And I want to be able to bring the same level of enthusiasm, but I can't. It's very hard for me to do that when I actively dislike the song so much, right? So we have Little Wolf. So for Little Wolf here, I have Duvet Box, who we did see. Duvet Box is legendary. I will note that, yes, I have since been informed that the voice actor, the singer for Antennois, is a black man. Again, wonderful voice. Like, I was not knocking the voice or anything. I will therefore essentially say I can put aside any potential, like, more sort of gentle guiding critiques, best that I could say, about what I thought of Antennois' character design in that animatic versus all the other characters in terms of coding the character a certain way. And I was like, this, you know, I will say that, like, as a very obviously white person, I tread very carefully there because obviously I think it's more important to hear from people of color when they speak on that, and they're going to have a better grasp on the situation, and they're going to be far more authoritative on that than I could ever be. This was more, ooh, ah, and then I realized, again, this is a case of it being based on the voice actor. And then we have Crashite, who we haven't seen for a while. When was the last time we saw Crashite? Was it did we see Crashite in the Underworld saga? Or has it really been since, like, Circe or Ocean? I think it's been a while since, no! Or Crashite, did we see you for, like, Suffering? Maybe we did. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. Again, this is what happens when there's so many of these. And from the thumbnail, I can also see that we have drawn Antennois as a man of color, which, again, I'm assuming is coming from the fact that, is it Aaron Alexander? I believe his name is a man of color. So, again, I will say no more on that topic, only because I understand that we are basing it on the voice actor. Just want to get that out there again, because I know people will probably bring it up, and I did see everybody telling me. In fact, I was even sent a picture of what he looks like, and I was like, oh, okay, like, that makes sense. That's what I assumed, which is why I didn't go too far into it, because I was like, I'm making the assumption, and unless I am told that, no, that's actually incorrect, in which case I would have had more to say, while also pushing you towards creators of color who would likely be far more authoritative on the topic. But yep, we have Duvet Box and Crashite. Let's go. Once again, I'm only putting in one headphone, and I will probably have to turn this really far down because, again, legendary, at least I can sort of tolerate the melody to a degree. Little Wolf, I actually don't even really like the music. Even Athena's belting at the end, which, like, props to you, Queen, you're great. Yeah, this is gonna be... Okay, let's go for Duvet Box. Flash warning. Oh, throwing off the cloak. Again, we have the very, like, gladiator sandals look. Oh, does he, Actually, I wonder if, so I noted before that the joke is that like everybody draws Antennois with like this some sort of cool scars and stuff, and I'm like, he's not cool enough to have done anything. Why are we giving him cool scars? I noticed that in fact his eye that's scarred is a lighter color, but we have darkened the other eye. I don't think this is a case of heterochromia. Are you trying to say that maybe he's got vision issues in that eye, Box? Maybe? Or is it just because you gave him heterochromia? Because why not? This actually reminds me. Now I have to bring this up because people mentioned like, oh, I think people draw Antennois as looking cool because of his pirate backstory. And I sat there like, what pirate backstory? What are you talking about? He's not a pirate. I mean, granted, the idea of piracy, the way we think of, say, like Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff, that doesn't exist. It's just not a thing. I think this comes from the fact it is mentioned. In fact, I believe Penelope is the one who mentions it when she's chastising the suitors at one point. Legend queen, we love her. That Antennois' father actually like was had come and begged Odysseus for help, participated in sort of raids with Odysseus. Now, this raiding culture, we talked about this in Odyssey Book Club because Odysseus has this epithet that is known as polyportos, which means sacker of cities, essentially, or raider of cities. So raiding culture in the Mediterranean, especially during like the Bronze Age, where there's no central sea power that's like policing the Mediterranean or the Aegean and the like, it's very common. And think of it closer to something more like the Vikings and them landing and raiding than like 18th century pirates. Like, does that make more sense? We're not in the age of Pirates of the Caribbean. This is closer to the Vikings. And in fact, actually raiding behavior, again, was extremely common to the Greek hero. We have numerous accounts through the cycles about the story of Troy, including the lost ones, that they would go and raid and sex cities prior to getting to Troy. In fact, that is how Achilles gets his war prize, Briseis. And like they roll up and they attack that city and they sack it and they raid it and they kill a ton of people while they're at it. Like, this is just an extremely common practice. In fact, the death of Odysseus, as it is written in the Telegony, is that Odysseus' son that he has with Circe, Telegonis, rolls up to Ithaca, doesn't realize he's on Ithaca, and he starts raiding, like any sort of character in Greek myth would do, and it is Odysseus and Telemachus who come to defend Ithaca, and ultimately that's how we end up with shenanigans where Odysseus gets hit with a spear that's essentially laced in poison. So, raiding culture, very common. However, yes, Antennois' father did some of this with Odysseus. Is he still doing it now? We don't know. Is it something that he goes off and does like every day, like that's his day job? No, not necessarily. By this point, he's sort of becoming landed gentry, if you will. Antennois would have been way too goddamn young to do that. Like, he notes having seen Odysseus a couple times when he was a child. Mind you, this is 20 years after the war for Troy kicked off. Antennois was not a pirate. In fact, none of these guys were pirates. Even like Odysseus and all of them, when they raid and such, it's not piracy. And again, their piracy, their raiding is closer to the idea of kind of the Viking raids than anything else. You roll up, you pillage, you take, and you leave, essentially. That's the idea. These are not high sea swashbuckling pirates. They're frankly not that cool. So I realized I needed to say that because somebody brought it up and I was like, what pirate backstory? All of this coming from the fact that I was like, did you give Antennois heterochromia, or is it trying to note that maybe he's got some vision issues in that eye because he's got the scar going through it? I don't know. But I do like there's some really good movement of this fight going on. I have it turned down so low I can't even hear it, which is honestly doing wonders for my mood. I will say, I do like, we've got an expression here on Telemachus, gritting his teeth. He's pissed off. I do like the expression work that's being done here, and everything else. Ooh, he looks so arrogant. This would so not fly, too. Interesting. There's some extra costuming on Antennois. He's got like a thing here that looks like it's got jewels or something hanging from it. Again, this could be like pearls, beads, something. He looks a little more dripped out. Now, what's actually interesting is you could read that as coding to say, he's a bit of a peacock. He's peacocking, if you will, which they are trying to impress Penelope. Like, this is also part of why this whole incident would never fly. They're trying to impress Penelope. Actively kicking the shit out of the Prince of Ithaca in his palace is not going to impress Penelope. They are actually peacocking to her. They are trying. This is going to impress no one. And again, Telemachus at 20 is absolutely not a pushover like this. He's not. While he absolutely does need to go on what you could see as kind of a journey of maturation, it's really not a full like Bildungsroman, which is the coming of age story. It's really not that, because he is already an adult. It's more kind of a sense of identity and stepping into his role and what does he do, because again, Ithaca is in flux. Ithaca is in a kind of hitherto unseen situation, and the fact that Odysseus has not been declared dead is the thing that is allowing this situation to continue and fester, but is also kind of the only thing that Penelope really is hanging on to. Like, she does not want to let go of that unless she has to, and she has not been given any confirmation from anyone that Odysseus is even dead. And that's, you know, think of it as family members of missing people. She's holding onto that hope with all of her strength. That's the only thing she's clinging to, is that I haven't gotten confirmation from anyone, not even the other heroes of Troy, that he's dead. Not a word. So in her mind, she's holding on to that, even though constantly in the narrative she says he's never coming home. He's never coming home. But for her, she just needs that confirmation. That's what she's holding out for, really. And also trying to hold on to this position in the palace until Telemachus is ready. And we're at the point where Telemachus it's about time, basically. So we send him off. He goes on his journey to not only, you know, kind of step into who he is and figure out who he is, learn a bit more of who his father is, understand his mother more as well. Because again, he doesn't understand why these stories of Troy send people to weeping, or send her to weeping. He doesn't get it, because the other suitors don't cry. They're all like, yeah, stories of Troy, cool. It's like, you don't get it. Like, you just don't get it. You weren't there. You were kids. You know, you guys don't know. Or you didn't go and fight there. Like, you're not intimately involved. You don't understand. He starts to understand. And he comes back a bit more mature. He's still a bit brash. He's not his father. Now, granted, when he comes home, he's immediately basically hooking up with his father, and they're just like, all right, here's the plan, we're going in, we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do. And to be fair, again, Telemachus comes up with some good ideas as a part of this plan. He's like, no, actually, let's do XYZ, this is about speed and subterfuge and all of that. And so Telemachus is a good fighter, he already is, and he's stepping more into the ability of being able to speak well and command respect and really show them, like, do not fuck with me, I'm so done. And the suitors start to take notice. They do. So yeah, again, this is not a knock at the art or the artists. This is because you guys are working with what Jorge gave you. And obviously my big issue is with Jorge and his choice of how to adapt this, which I think does such a disservice to everything that goes on Ithaca. I mean, to all the players there. Does a disservice to the suitors, does a major disservice to Telemachus, does also a major disservice to Penelope, because she is so much cleverer than this musical really makes you think. You might think she's clever from this musical. She is so much cleverer, because we get more of her because of the whole plan to like sneak into the palace in disguise. We get to see Penelope and how she works the room, how she tricks the suitors, even still. And yeah, so there's that. But noting that Antennois is costuming here, you know, duvet box, you've given him a little extra ornamentation, so I mean, he's peacocking. They want to look good, which is again also why this whole fight, never gonna happen. It doesn't make you look good. How is that gonna endear you to anyone here when you're trying to make them like you, to pick you? You're trying to show off to her. Yes, to the others and everything else, but it's Penelope who's making the choice.
To break when you and I are through.
Got a hoop earring on versus Telemachus' little dangly bits. Yeah, the two-tone eyes. I wonder if that is supposed to mean something. Oh, wow. Gripping him by the throat and by the... Oh! Bit his hand. Ouch. Ew. Also ew. This is, okay, this fight choreography is really good. I mean, grabbing him, getting him from behind, kicking him in the back of the knee, which I'm just like, ah! So I've never, thank God, had a knee injury, but I have what are those shallow grooves in my knees. So my kneecap doesn't float, but it kind of almost jitters is what I say. It moves around more than it probably should in a way that actually causes me like kind of discomfort in my knees. They tend to get very stiff and sore and all of that a lot more easily, and I have to be careful of them. So I'm just like, don't fuck with the, like, joints, really don't fuck with joints. I'm just like, careful. Also, the fact that I now see two other hands here gripping Telemachus, stepping in while somebody's having a fight would look really bad. It's in fact insulting to Antennois that these guys would step in and be like, yeah, we got you, we'll help you. No. Antennois would want this to be an absolute mono a mono 101. Because that's his reputation at stake. And Antennois is very obsessed with his reputation. I mean, he's the guy who's a little seemingly unpredictable in the Odyssey, but he's predictable in his unpredictability in that he's going to flash real hot and he's going to come up for like, absolutely, let's do this stupid thing first. But you can kind of usually then kind of talk him out of it. He would not take well to somebody else stepping in the middle of his fight, even though he's obviously here in Epic gonna win or assumed to win. This is reputation and honor, but not really. It's more reputation. And that means a lot to the Greeks. Reputation is everything. I'm sort of also surprised that Antennois is, ooh, we're doing the small pupils. That's a trick in anime you usually see with characters who are more antagonistic. They tend to make like their irises and pupils really small. Oh, that's well done, changing the color palette to blue for Athena. I see a broom helmet. Short hair. Also has a scar on her face. Interesting. So with the exception of Hephaestus, who obviously has his very noticeable injury and he's said to be lame, which of course makes sense to then why he's the smith, because his upper body would be incredibly strong. The gods do not usually have scars. They don't keep, and they certainly don't keep them. These scars get healed. They always look essentially flawless. Even the war gods like Ares and Athena, they always look flawless, right? So her having a scar, dramatic and cool as it looks, not very likely. Obviously, I appreciate the short hair. Would she likely have short hair? No. Nah. Her hair is often not usually shown. She's almost always shown with her helm on. So, but just trends of the age, she would have been known to have long hair. But I do appreciate that initially you showed her in her helm, even though obviously it looked like it might have been a broom helmet. So I gotta tease a little about the broom helmet, just because in this house we tease about the broom helmets, all in good fun. I was gonna say I like the color palette changing, and again, the motion and the anatomy that's being done on this fight, because of the angles that you choose, which includes having to draw stuff in perspective, looks really great. It does, and I know how difficult that is. So I'm appreciating how well done that is. And when she comes in, the way that you had the hand just slow down in the way that it moves, it's still very fluid. Nice pace change. To then, okay, here's Athena. Oh, that's right. You like to draw the gods with the pointy ears. I just made your thoughts quick, yeah.
No, I just made your thoughts quick.
Oh, that is so sick.
I'm so glad I don't
All right,
have to
now,
hear this.
Let's try this again. I've no respect for bullies, those who impose their will. I've seen plenty enough to truly.
She's extremely androgynous looking, which is quite interesting.
Let's teach this dog a lesson in front of all his kind. One young wolf has a larger heart than all these men combined.
I do like that we've given her a spear as her main weapon, as it should be. Yes, using the cloak as we should be using it. I think I said that about, was it Cyril? Who did that in Mutiny? Use what you have to your advantage. Look, I'll be real. It makes me think of, I remember when my dad was sending me off to university after introducing me to a whole ton of mixed drinks, and my dad likes to mix drinks pretty strong, and he was just like, so you know what they should taste like? He was like, if you ever have to fight, he's like, there are no rules. You play fucking dirty. You use whatever you got. If you can, break a bottle off and start stabbing at someone's face with that, you use it. There's no such thing as fighting fair. It's you fight. Which kind of makes me think of that. In this case, it's use what you have to your advantage. Okay, you have a cloak. First off, why are you still wearing that? It's something that somebody else could grab. It just makes me think of Etna mode.
No kips.
But in this case also, it's, if you can take it off and use it to wrap around. I mean, again, like Cyril did in Mutiny, which I thought was such a great choice and made so much sense. Here's your option. If I'm going to have to sit through this thing that would absolutely never happen for, a myriad of reasons. Headbutt, yeah. Yeah. Break his wrist. That's really what Antennois, yeah, okay, or do that. I was like, I'm surprised Antennois, if he's got him like that, he could have completely cracked his wrist. Ew, that's bad.
Go back and cry in your corner. Make
There's some
sure
blood.
your mother hears. If she won't choose a man to adorn her, will bring blood and tears.
Which again, this whole song just makes me go, why on earth does he even leave the palace?
Tell me, Athena, why you came to my
Given how unsafe it clearly is. Very nice. Again, great anatomy, great use of perspective in terms of the drawing, some neat fight choreography. Yeah, just, I mean, worth looking at, especially on mute. But no, well done, well done. And now we have Crashite. I seriously feel like I haven't seen Crashite in a while. I just can't remember the last time I saw something by Crashite. So here we will go with Crashite's Little Wolf once again. This is so low it might as well be on mute. Yay for me. This is the only way I'm doing it sane, guys.
Fight, little wolf, fight, wanna entertain me. Fight,
I love that the crowd in the back is just like, woo, a little kind of mass, just sort of a mass, and that's fine. And again, the circling around for everybody to watch. I mentioned before that there is essentially a fight that takes place in the palace. Well, it's not in the palace. They do it like just outside the palace, like outside the main area in front of the front steps, basically, kind of like, we'll call it like almost like the main courtyard area. And it is Odysseus in disguise as this old beggar versus another guy who is a bum, and they nickname him Irus, which is a play upon the name for Iris. So I guess it would be Irus. So Irus is what they nickname him because if you offer him food or whatever, he'll basically do anything. He'll run back and forth. And again, it's bum fighting. They do it for their own entertainment, and they say the winner will get like the biggest sausage that we have here. And it's just like, that's so messed up. It's so messed up. And obviously, Telemachus, who knows this is his father in disguise, lets them do it because his father is like, I got a plan, we got this. And now Athena, what's crazy is, Athena is there, standing beside him. She doesn't actively interfere, she doesn't do anything other than let these guys know that when Odysseus is like getting himself ready, she lets the disguise on him slip a bit, so they basically see thighs. Again, Homer and his thighs. The only, magic, if we will say she uses, is to strip away a teeny bit of Odysseus, this like sort of glamour she's put on Odysseus that makes him appear as an old beggar, so they can see, why is that man's legs so thick? Why he's so thick? What do you mean? That's before he fights. And he actually has to actually think to himself, how hard do I actually beat this guy because I don't want to give myself away? And he cracks him pretty good. He does some damage, but not so much that the suitors realize, which of course speaks also to the suitors and how oblivious they are in a way to, I can't believe you might not think this guy could be a god in disguise, because there's a god in disguise who they can't see. At Odysseus' side, Athena is there. And she does this, but again, the whole thing is that Odysseus is undercover. They don't know it's Odysseus, and they're not in the main hall. They're outside the palace. And it is distasteful. And Penelope takes them to task for it. She's not pleased when she hears about this. I mean, she's also not pleased at how they've treated Odysseus again, who's in disguise beforehand. She's like, what the fuck is going on? She scolds Telemachus a bit for it. Like, what are you letting them do? You want to play big man on campus? What are you letting them do? And poor Telemachus is like, I can't tell you that Dad is here, and I really want to tell you that Dad is here, but Dad said I can't tell you that Dad is here, and it's Dad, and Poor Telemachus is just like dying at that point. But they do kind of circle around to watch. In fact, in Homer, you have, it's fun to read. I mean, again, at Odyssey Book Club, I do all these different silly voices, so I was like, you'd get like little random snippets, like stuff you're hearing from the crowd, and so I was giving each of them these like silly voices, each of them, and it's like, yeah, there's a big crowd watching.
The worst mistake here might be your last one too. You'll have run out of bones.
He's still eating, he's so
When
unbothered.
you and I are through, I'll teach you all the lessons.
Oh, is that supposed to be an image of Odysseus?
This cruel world doesn't give out presents just for being good.
Oh, that would never fly. That would be, oh wow, yeah, so that would be the same as like taking Odysseus' spear off the wall and just like throwing it out. Ooh, absolutely not. Like, you do not touch this stuff. You don't touch the objects of the house like that. You don't treat them that way. Which, again, these suitors are absolutely violating Xenia. They stand and exist as a violation of Xenia, but there are certain things they don't do. And disrespecting the house in this way, in the just wanton destruction and disrespect of the property in that way, is not done. Because let's remember, they want to have it for themselves, so they want to keep the palace in one piece.
Let's see how you
Oh,
take
is
this.
that a leg sweep you try?
Wanna be a man and fight, little wolf, fight, little wolf, fight, or die, little wolf, die. Don't you know it's fight or fly, little wolf, fly, or because
Wow, yeah, he's got the other hand. Telemachus, you're in trouble. Lose control of one or both hands and you're in so much trouble.
Need some help?
The hourglass. Changing it to blue. That is plumage. I love it. Now, is this a broom helmet? No, this is actually incredible plumage. And I hope these aren't meant to be owl things, but they almost like they're meant to be tusks on the outside of Athena's helm, which is absolutely, if you've ever looked up helm styles of the Bronze Age in Greece, they are pretty badass looking. But I love this huge bit of plumage that comes out afterward, because that is closer to what those kind of helms, like that kind of plumage would have looked like. Yes, it still would have been pretty tall. Yeah, it would have been cut and shaped, but it's like if you take away the glorious plumage and you cut it like super, super close to the helmet, it doesn't look right. That looks great. And again, I wonder if those are meant to be like how some owls kind of have those little bits that stick out there. I really hope those are meant to be tusks, because there are plenty of evidence that they would have tusks on the helm. In fact, Odysseus' helm itself is described as having, I believe, boar tusks on it. That pleases me greatly.
What's going on here?
Is your plan to stand around? Cause I suggest you fight back.
I don't know how.
I think they're meant to be more feather-like, because even the plumage is evoking kind of like feather wings.
This time now moving slow.
No, I just made your thoughts quick.
Oh, that is so sick.
All right now.
Stars in the eyes.
Again.
I do appreciate the is it bokeh or bokeh? I always want to call it bokeh, but I think it's bokeh. You see these little circles here? It's called bokeh. It's an effect you can do. And I like it. It just sort of adds, again, in addition to this very beautiful blue gradient, the idea that he's sort of almost in like a different dimension in a way, and then we're in his mind. Helm itself. Sorry, I was thinking of the helm shape, the front, the face piece. Yeah, keep your hands up. That makes me think of the Phantom. Your hand at the level of your eyes. Which in that case is because they say the Punjab lasso. So it's literally keep your hand up like this because he's going to try and choke you. And at least if you can do this, he won't be able to. Yeah, guard up, dude. Which again, Telemachus knows how to do this. He knows how to fight. He does damage in the slaughter of the suitors. Like, this boy knows how to fight.
Little wolf strike, don't go down with that. Fight, little wolf, fight, little wolf, get up and fight.
The kick. Surprisingly, I am surprised. I will say this. In terms of, like, fighting styles, if you will. I'm surprised there's not a lot more, like, wrestling and stuff going on. Is that judo that does, like, wrestling and the like? Or is that also jujitsu? I don't know enough about martial arts styles. But we know the Greeks liked to wrestle. Wrestling was a big thing. I'm surprised more of these fight choreographies have not, like, brought them down to the ground. They're all very upright, right? And my favorite part of fight choreography is I think of it almost like dance. It's levels, high and low as well. So if you could bring the fight to the ground and start wrestling, I actually think that would be so cool. So somebody can do that. That would be awesome. Because we do know, like, wrestling is something that gets mentioned a lot in Greek mythology. It's definitely something that was done. Ooh, never mind, I say as he takes him down. Ooh, that's... I just had concussion flashbacks. Cause, ow. Yeah, that's gonna ring his bell. Great shot with Antennois looming over him in that way. And that's very clever because it gives the illusion of an even more intense size differential between the two because of it's almost, it's not quite like a fisheye lens, but the way the lens essentially in that way with the camera would warp the image, it makes him seem even bigger, even though he's not actually that big. It just, you know, it's giving you a sense of like, oh shit. It's good use of distortion with the camera angle.
If she won't choose a man to adorn her, will bring blood and tears.
Like, bitch. Fucking disappointed. What the fuck was that? That's still the most insane plumage on her helmet, and I love it. Again, I was saying the front bit of the helm. I don't think I've ever seen a design like that for Bronze Age, but I'm just pleased with the plumage. Okay, admittedly. Crashite, I love your end page. Quit hitting yourself, and then he's giving Telemachus a swirly. I hate kind of how amusing that is, but it pretty much sums up how Antennois treats Telemachus in this fight. Some really cool stuff. Some cool stuff. Yeah. Again, if I didn't hate this song as much as I do, I could probably be more enthused for a lot of this, but that is not in any way to dismiss the great work that was done. Two Little Wolves, all that I could stomach. There's no way I was doing a third. So Two Little Wolves, both of them really well done. Some great fight, you know, choreography. Very different styles, too, in terms of how the fight choreography was done. How many times you cut, which, you know, angles you want to get. Again, I'll highlight... once again, Crashite's use of the distortion in the as well as camera angle to do that last sort of looming shot of Antennois over Telemachus. And I appreciate that you showed Antennois with like kind of a little more ornamentation in his clothes, because again, they're all peacocking, as I say, like they are there to show off. They want Penelope to marry them because they want all this. Yeah, I hate this song. I hate this whole section. I just hate how badly we do by the Ithaca situation, because it's so important to the story. And as much as I joke that, yeah, it's the Telemachus problem, the first 4 books specifically, because mostly it comes down to how you construct your narrative when you're doing the adaptation. Are you going to do it in a linear format or not? Are you going to keep the non-linear format, that the story within a story that the Odyssey does? How much of it do you even want of Ithaca prior to Odysseus landing there do you want to show? Because you could make the bold choice to show none of it until Odysseus comes back, and then, like him, we're coming in with kind of no idea what the sitch is, right? I mean, unless you know the Odyssey. And then you get to do all the fun sneaking around and stuff. It's, you know, we lose so much of that. And while part of the most difficult part of adaptation is usually, what do you excise? What do you take away? And how? I personally don't think it was done very well in epics. And we all know that the Wisdom Saga and the Vengeance Saga are like my crash out sagas, where I'm just like, send help. However, the work done by the artists has been incredible, both for Legendary and Little Wolf thus far. I mean, look, usually I would say there's no way you can get me to sit through almost any of these songs ever again, but I am so curious to see what the artists do. That it's, I think, a testament to all of you artists who make these animatics and do all this, that I am sitting here watching it. And while I'm maybe not like falling over myself the way I do with songs that I much prefer listening to, I'm still like appreciating the work that you do, and I, you know, can only commend you for getting me to basically sit through these songs. And also because next we have We'll Be Fine, which is where I say, Athena did nothing wrong and I'll die on this hill. I'll die on this hill. I am dead on this hill, basically. Athena did nothing wrong. Other than that, yeah, next we have We'll Be Fine. 2 Will Be Fines. We will be fine. I say with hope.